Krishna ki jai. The Transcendental Lordships, Shri Shri Gaura ki jai. Shri Shri Krishna Balarama ki jai. Shri Krishna Balaram Subhadra ki jai. Giriraj Maharaja ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Govinda ki jai. Gaur Premanande. Samaveda Bhakta Vinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. I need a book. This is just notes. Oh, it's in here? I don't know. You put it on the purse. 4/8/31/32. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Śrimad Bhāgavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 8. Chapter is entitled Dhruva Maharaj Leaves Home. Today we're covering texts 31 and 32. And 32 is up here, huh? Well, what do you do here? Do you, Krishna, what are we doing? We do the, there's no purport on that 31, so should we do responsively 32, or no, I'll just chant 31, right? Is that usually the way you do it here? It changes in different temples. What'd you say, Krishna Kripa? I can't hear a word you're saying. I don't. Okay, I still can't hear. I don't have my hearing aids. I left them upstairs, I think. Yeah, don't have them. Okay, so could someone say really loudly what he said? So like 32. 32. All right, we'll do it. Anyway, I cannot hear what you're saying, Prabhu, so, someone up close can say it. I forgot my hearing aids. Anyway, what to do?
32 altogether.
Okay, good. All right, got it. Munaya padavim yasha nisangainoru jamabi navidhur migayantopi tivra yoga samadhina. Translation. Do we do word for word? Yes, no? No, okay. Narada Muni continued. After trying this process for many, many births and remaining unattached to material contamination, placing themselves continually in trance and executing many types of austerities, many mystic yogis were unable to find the end of the path of God realization. Can't hear. Did someone say something that's directed towards me? Okay. Text 32. So we go word for word first and then do the... No, I guess we'll do the text first. Ato nivartatam esha nirbandhastava nishpala nirbandhastava nishpalaha yatishyati bhavan kale Shreyasam samupashtite. Ato nivartatam esha. Nirbandhastava nishpalaha. Yatishyati bhavan kale. Shreyasam samupashtite. Please chant. Ato nivartatam esha. Tava ishtaha. Yatishyati bhavan kale. Shreyasam putupastate. Ato nivartatam esha. Nirbandhastava nishpalaha. Yatishyati bhavan kale. Shreyasam samupashtate. Mataji's? Ato viditatata nisha. Nirbandhastava nishpalaha. Titayati mangale. Shreyasam samupashtate. Ata. Oh, let's see, yeah. Hereafter. Nivartatam. Just stop yourself. Esha. This. Nirbandha. Determination. Tava. Your. Nishpalaha. Without any result. Yatishyati. In the future you should try. Bhavan, yourself. Kale, in due course of time. Shreyasam, opportunities. Samupashtate, being. For this reason, translation, for this reason, my dear boy, you should not endeavor for this. It will not be successful. It is better that you go home. When you are grown up, by the mercy of the Lord, you will get a chance for these mystic performances. At that time, you may execute this function. So we can say this responsibly. For this reason, my dear boy, you should not endeavor for this. It will not be successful. It is better that you go home. When you're grown up, by the mercy of the Lord, you will get a chance for these mystic performances. At that time, you may execute this function. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Generally, a thoroughly trained person takes to spiritual perfection at the end of his life. According to the Vedic system, therefore, life is divided into 4 stages. In the beginning, one becomes a brahmachari, a student who studies Vedic knowledge under the authoritative guidance of a spiritual master. He then becomes a householder and executes household duties according to the Vedic process. Then the householder becomes a vanaprastha. And gradually, when he's mature, he renounces household life and vanaprastha life also and takes the sannyas, completely devoting himself to devotional service. Generally, people think that childhood is meant for enjoying life by engaging oneself in sports and play. Youth is meant for enjoying the company of young girls. And when one becomes old, at the time of death, then he may try to execute devotional service or a mystic yoga process. But this conclusion is not for devotees who are actually serious. The great sage Narada is instructing Dhruva Maharaj just to test him. Actually, the direct order is that from any point of life, one should begin rendering devotional service. But it is the duty of the spiritual master to test the disciple to see how seriously he desires to execute devotional service. Then he may be initiated. Ato nivartatam esha nirbandhastava nishpalaha yatishyati bhavan kale shreyasam samupashtate. For this reason, my dear boy, you should not endeavor for this. It will not be successful. It is better that you go home. When you are grown up, by the mercy of the Lord, you will get a chance for these mystic performances. At that time, you may execute this function. I forgot to chant Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I did? Oh, wow. Okay, thank you. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Umlitam Gena Taishmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So I'm going to focus on today's. First, before I start, I want to ask for each of your blessings that I can say something reasonably beneficial to devotees that are attending. Bless me. Okay. Thank you. So what I'm going to focus on is these 3 sentences from the purport. But this conclusion is not for devotees who are actually serious. The conclusion is that go home when you're grown up. Don't worry about it now. You won't be successful. But this conclusion is not for devotees who are actually serious. The great sage Narada is instructing Dhruva Maharaj just to test him. Actually, the direct order is that from any point of life, one should begin rendering devotional service. So this is, quite powerful instruction that Prabhupada's giving us. Sometimes we get a little lazy in regards to the intensity of our devotional practices, not thinking that I really got to move ahead. I've had friends that have left their body unexpectedly, like that, an automobile accident or some serious illness that just came on them. So any one of us can, our lives can be finished like that. Who knows how long we'll live? There's from the Mahabharata, there's a relevant reference. Yamaraj, I'll see how many know the answer to this one. Yamaraj asked Yudhishthira a question. What is the most wonderful thing in this world? He knows, I see he's shaking his head. Well, he's a doctor, he's a smart guy. So what's the answer to that? Give the Sanskrit and the translation. Okay, nice and loud. Yeah, so there's a powerful illusion, and it's very common. You look. I think probably. The translation that's in the Shloka book is every day hundreds and millions of living entities go to the kingdom of death. Still, those who are remaining aspire for a permanent situation. What could be more wonderful than this? Are any of you not going to die? Think about it. Life goes really quickly. I joined the movement like on July 7, 1977, and boy, it's gone so fast, all these years. And, I remember when I first went to kindergarten when I was like 5 years old. It's just, life goes very, very quickly. So we have to take it seriously. And, this process that's been so mercifully bestowed upon us, by Srila Prabhupada. The more seriously we take it, the more our spiritual advancement will be accelerated. So there's a relevant, to what is being spoken here by Srila Prabhupada. This is Prahlad Maharaj instructing his classmates. It's the first verse of the 6th chapter of the 7th canto. Shri Prahlad Uvacha Komara Achared Pragno Dharman Bhāgavatam Iha Dulabham Manusham Janma Tadapya Dhruvam Artatam. Prahlad Maharaj said, one who is sufficiently intelligent should use the human form of body from the very beginning of life. In other words, from the tender age of childhood to practice the activities of devotional service, giving up all other engagements. The human body is most rarely achieved, and although temporary, like other bodies, it is meaningful because in human life, one can perform devotional service. Even a slight amount of sincere devotional service can give one complete perfection. So some of you are just beginning this process, and now everyone stay awake. I'm not giving anybody sleeping pills today, okay? We're going to cover some really significant points for our spiritual development. So if you're having trouble staying awake, stand up. That was what was always done in the old days. And, when Prabhupada was coming to New York for the Rath Yatra in 77, this is at the 55th Street Temple, his quarters on the top floor were being remodeled. And devotees were staying up all night long, fixing, doing the remodeling. And they would still come to Bhāgavatam class and they would stand up in the back, and believe it or not, they fell over asleep. They were so exhausted. Prabhupada didn't come, as we know, in 77. But, so I'm just going to get some bullet points from the purport of this Prahlad Maharaj's instructions. First of all, one shouldn't be very interested in material enjoyment. Okay, you just discard that and go into bhakti with full sincerity and intensity. Then, instead, one should be satisfied with whatever material profits are easily obtained. This is the Ishavasha principle, as enunciated in the Ishopanishad. That just whatever comes. You take that, but don't dedicate your life to making millions. Okay, so here's the significant point. That is, why get into it right now? Go full, as the hippies used to say, go full tilt boogie. Okay, full on marathon, as we say in ISKCON. Because the duration of one's life is very short, one should utilize every moment for spiritual advancement. Okay, now one of the 9 reliable symptoms of bhava has to do with time. Anybody know the answer to that? Boy. Avyarta kalatvam. Okay, a Vaishnava should be very careful not to waste a second of his valuable lifetime. That's, Prabhupada quotes that. This is Rupa Goswami. That's from Madhya Lila 23, 18 through 19. So one may wrongly think, this is Prabhupada, in the beginning of our lives, let us enjoy material facilities. And in old age, we may become Krishna conscious. But such materialistic thoughts are always useless because in old age, one cannot be trained in this spiritual way of life. We've got to start now. I mean, there's different stories that I've heard, about how parents, of devotees, they're at the end, and then there's these miraculous turnarounds. But 21 generations before, 21 generations after are delivered by someone who's taken up pure devotion. So that can be there. Boy, I highlighted it in my... Oh, yeah. The highlighting facility isn't on my tablet. But here's another significant point is I wish I could read that. Let me just look and see if I've got it mixed up in the timeline here. Okay. So I'll just move ahead. So then the big question, and we need to have an answer for it, we're being requested. Srila Prabhupada, in text 5 of Nectar of Instruction, said that he created ISKCON as a facility for performing pure devotional service. Is anybody here performing pure devotional service? Please raise your hand. If you, don't worry, we won't think you're puffed up if you raise your hand. Anybody? No? No pure devotees here? Oh, come on, guys. Let's get going. So, there's a very, very, of course there's the definition from the Nectar of Devotion. And this is Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. This is from Rupa Goswami. 1.1.11, and then it's also in the Madhya Lila, chapter 19. This is Rupa 19.167. Anyabhilasita sunyam jnana karma dhyanavitam anukulyena krishnanu shiladam bhaktirutama. When first-class devotional service develops, one must be devoid of all material desires, knowledge obtained by monistic philosophy, and fruit of action. The devotee must constantly serve Krishna favorably as Krishna desires. Okay, so now we may have an intellectual understanding of this. And now there's the Sarup Lakshanam and the Tatastha Lakshanam. This is all studied in Bhakti Shastri. And it's important to have this understanding. But I'm going to reference now a verse that allows you to go deep in the heart, not just intellectual, but actually very seriously, try to come to this platform, of pure devotional service as quickly as possible. Because that's what Prabhupada created ISKCON as a facility to do. And we have, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Sakyam, Dasyam, Atmanavedanam. So these 9 processes are the facilities for us to engage in pure devotional service. But we're not doing it, maybe. Maybe we're riddled by, we're all covered by these material desires, or our nartas are blocking the sun of the holy name, so that we really can't access the mercy. So there is a very, very famous, well, it's not so famous, but it's a very significant verse from the 11th canto. This is Krishna instructing Uddhava, 20th chapter, text 27 and 28. They're combined. I'm not going to, because the time factor is fairly tight today, and I'm trying to cover some very significant, but to some extent time-consuming points. So this is 11.28.27-28. Okay, I'm not going to go into the Sanskrit. I'll just read the translation and give some bullet points on it. Having awakened faith in narrations of my glories, being disgusted with all material activities, knowing that all sense gratification leads to misery, but still being unable to renounce all sense enjoyment. My devotee should remain happy and worship me with great faith and conviction, even though he is sometimes engaged in sense enjoyment. My devotee knows that all sense gratification leads to a miserable result, and he sincerely repents such activities. I humbly suggest that each of you read this and read it and read it. Keep going over it and see that you're on track with what's being proposed here. Now I'm just going to give bullets, so I'm not going to go through because it's a super long purport. The beginning stage of pure devotional service is described here by the Lord. Now in Jaiva Dharma, the Madhyama Vaishnava platform, which is the verse that describes them, there's a lot of details on this, but it's 11:2:46 of the Bhāgavatam. That's the definition, or kind of the basic description of the Madhyama platform. And you don't have to be an Uttama Adhikari, according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Jaiva Dharma. That's the actual one is on the platform of pure devotional service. If he's on the Madhyama Vaishnava platform. And, there's a lot more details than what's in the translation of this verse, 11:2:46. Ishvare tad adineshu balisheshu dvisatsu cha prema maitri kripo peksha ya karoti samajamaha. An intermediate or second-class devotee called Madhyama Adhikari offers his love to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is a sincere friend to all the devotees of the Lord, so shows mercy to ignorant people who are innocent, and disregards those who are envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, once I was about to give Nectar of Instruction class, part of the Bhakti Shastri course in Juhu. And I started studying. I was doing Ayurvedic treatment in Udupi. And I read the purport to text 5 of the Nectar of Instruction, which delineates the different levels of spiritual advancement. And there Prabhupada, from Kanishta to Madhyama to Uttam. And Prabhupada said, one should have the intelligence to know his own position and the position of others. So I realized, hey, I'm a little retarded in this regard. I didn't know. So I started doing some research on it. And I went through, the different references where the Kanishta and the Madhyama are described. With the Uttama, I wasn't, that's a little easier. And, I created, I had all these different symptoms. And then there's one devotee, Dear Govinda. He lives in Alachua. And not active in our movement now. He's went the Ritvik route. But at one point, he was regularly giving classes on interpersonal dealings, on communication in the Mayapur Institute in the early days when we were starting. They were really good. They were very much appreciated by devotees. And he did a PhD in psychology, and his PhD thesis was how the chanting of Hare Krishna impacts the influence of the modes of material nature on a person. Really interesting. And one of our key teachers in the Mayapur Institute, Atul Krishna, used, and he actually created a way that someone could assess how he was being influenced by the modes of material nature. I think that's how it went, yeah. So I decided to do something on the continuum from the Kanishta to the Madhyama, so we could know our position. We should have the intelligence to know our own position, and then when we get to the Madhyama platform, we can have the intelligence to know the position of others as well, because that kind of discrimination awakens on the Madhyama Vaishnava platform. So I started working on it, but I needed to have someone who had was a statistician. So I went to, I went to Chopadi for Janmastami and Vyasa Puja. And there was a swine flu epidemic going on at the time, and no outsiders were allowed in the temple, because there were many people that were leaving their bodies in the Mumbai metro area. And I asked Guranga, is there any statisticians in the community that could help me put together the statistics? If we get the results. And there was a devotee that was actually working on a PhD in statistics, and his whole family had become devotees. And we just went on a full-on marathon, because right after Vyasa Puja, Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja, I was to start the course. So we went on a marathon and put together something that we call it the Devotional Development Self-Assessment. And his point is that it's statistically valid. And I used it I taught Nectar Devotion 19 times, and I used it not the first few times, but once I developed this. Actually, no, I think I did it, I used it like 18 times. First time I taught it to Gurukul boys, and I hadn't developed it yet. And but it got remarkable response from the devotees taking it, to understand their position. Because that's also a motivation. Hey, I got a long ways to go. I've got symptoms of the Kanishta, and that's not favorable for my devotion. So I've got to accelerate my spiritual advancement. And of course, an understanding, the Sambandha Gyan, and, in Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Harinam Chintamani describes that the primary responsibility of the Diksha Guru is to equip his disciples with Sambandha Gyan, because that is the foundation by which we can come to the platform of Namabhas. If we don't have that basic understanding of our relationship with Krishna, of our relationship with the material energy, Krishna's relationship with the material energy, it's that triad. It's important to understand what's going on. And so the number one way to accelerate our spiritual advancement. Okay, so before I move ahead, everybody, please, for your own well-being. See, I don't think I finished this part, did I? Okay, so, I read the translation, but I didn't do the bullets on 1120.27-28. So let's go through that real quickly before I move on to how we can accelerate our spiritual advancement. This understanding that's being given here is powerful. That's really important. That, it just gives us the ways and means to do it. But the primary method, of course, this is Kali Yuga, is this chanting of the holy name. And of all the instructions, this is Madhya 22, 113 purport. Prabhupada says, he quotes the Smarta, this is the purport to the Smartavya Sadatam Vishnor Vishmartavyo Najatuchit Sarve Vidhi Nasheda Shuretayor Eva Kinkara. One should always remember Krishna, one should never forget him. All the rules and regulations are simply servants of these two principles. And then Prabhupada says in the purport, of all the instruction to the spiritual master, the chanting of 16 rounds is the most essential. In other words, it's the most important. Okay, so let's go back to the bullets that I put together. And again, they're bullets. They're not the whole thing, so it's really important to read the whole purport. The beginning stage of pure devotional service is described here by the Lord. A sincere devotee has practically seen that all material activities lead only to sense gratification, and sense gratification leads only to misery. Thus, a devotee's sincere desire is to engage 24 hours a day in the loving service of the Lord without any personal motivation. The devotee sincerely desires to be established in his constitutional position as the Lord's eternal servant, and he prays to the Lord to elevate him to this exalted position. Because of one's past sinful activities and bad habits, one may not immediately be able to completely extinguish the enjoying spirit. The Lord here encourages such a devotee not to be overly depressed, or morose, but to remain enthusiastic and to go on with his loving service. A sincere devotee, although somewhat entangled in the remnants of sense gratification, is completely disgusted with material life and under no circumstances willingly commits sinful activities. I'm going to go back, those are the bullets. I'm going to go back to the next to the last bullet and then cover another couple really important points before we go on to the accelerating our spiritual advancement. The Lord here encourages such a devotee not to be overly depressed or morose, but to remain enthusiastic and to go on with his loving service. And Prabhupada wanted that loving service done within ISKCON. Now, here's a very significant historical event that not so many devotees are aware of. In the early 1980s, up through the end of the 80s, no, it was actually the mid to the late 1980s, there's a famous Kirtaniya, Vyasaki Prabhu. Anybody hear of him before? You're a Kirtaniya, so you know. And he's living in Vrindavan now. But he traveled throughout the world and met with over 500 devotees, 500 Prabhupada disciples that left ISKCON, and most of them had stopped practicing. He found a common denominator, common issue with practically every single one of them. Anybody have any idea what that might be? No. That's not the right answer. No, not the right answer. They might have been stimuli, but there was something that's very important aspect of our philosophy that was not applied by them. Huh? Okay, well, Krishna Kripa, he's got AI behind him, so he'll know. Correct. You got 4 pieces of burfi waiting for you after class. I used to, when I would teach the Gurukul boys, I used to have all these ladus. And if they got the answer right, I'd flip a ladu and they would catch it with their mouths, not with their hands. It was like kind of a exciting event for them. So 10:14:8. Everybody know what it is? Everybody? Anybody not know? Okay, learn it today. Okay, Bubba? Because it's so significant. Prabhupada, in chapter 10 of Nectar Devotion, under the heading, Expecting the Lord's Mercy, he says that this should be the guide for all devotees. It's a guide for processing distress. Anybody here experience any distress in the last week? Please raise your hand. Well, congratulations. Okay, this is the material world. Here's another interesting quote. This is the passing of Bhishma Dev. Okay, now you probably are thinking you're the center of the universe in terms of being in distress sometimes, right? Okay. But can you imagine what it would be like on a bed of arrows? You know, and there's all these arrows that are piercing your body. Okay, so in a purport, let's see, 1.9.19. This Prabhupada says the tribulations a devotee undergoes is another transcendental bhav with the Lord. Interesting point that Prabhupada's making. So it's actually out of love that Krishna, like Prabhupada told Giriraj Swami, that Krishna takes charge of your sinful reactions and uses them to help you advance. So Krishna, we're not under the laws of karma once we actually seriously start practicing Krishna consciousness. We're not under the laws of karma. You can go to astrologer, there may be some similarities, but it's not really karma. It's Krishna. And he's allowing us to understand the futility of trying to enjoy in the material realm. This gross misuse of our free will. We've come to this material world thinking, yeah, I want to be the center of the universe. I want to be the big shot. I want to be the enjoyer, not Krishna. Icha dvesha samutvaina dvandvo mohena bharata sarvabhutani samhoham sagayanti parantapa. All living entities come into this material world overcome by the dualities of desire and hate. They desire to be the center of their own little universe, and there's an envy of Krishna. Yeah, it seems that way. So, yeah, like Hadai Pran. Where are you, Hadai Pran? Come back. He made all these different points. Yeah, there were a lot of problems in our movement from the time Srila Prabhupada left. And then they accelerated. Actually became more and more intense. And it lasted for about 19 years. There was 11 zonal acharyas, and the vast majority of them didn't stay active. Or they couldn't stay in their position as sannyasis. Some of them have returned and are doing wonderful service, and some haven't. So that was very devastating. You can imagine, you take Diksha, and then your guru falls down. Oh my God, what am I going to do with that one? I mean, I have a friend who has had 3 gurus. Last one's still on, but, you know, a very strong devotee and very sincere. So it just rocked the ISKCON boat big time. And then there was management. Yeah, some of the gurus more than likely fell down because of abusive dealings with godbrothers. So that's difficult to process. But it's actually Krishna that's making all of these different arrangements. It's actually Krishna. We have to understand that. He's the supreme controller. It's not what anybody was hoping for, not what we expected, not what Prabhupada wanted. But because of immaturity, because of not very strictly following the process, then all of this craziness erupted in our movement. But it's something, you know, and there was also pretty serious neglect of important instructions from Srila Prabhupada. Give you one example. But not just one, there are quite a few. One example is that Prabhupada, in practically every single letter that he sent to the GBCs, and this was researched by Bir Krishna Maharaj, he said, your most important responsibility is to make sure that everyone in your temples attends the full morning program. Even to today, many temples not observed. In Mayapur, out of 7,500 devotees, maybe about 700. One of my close friends, he oversees the security there. That's his estimate. About 700 regularly come to the temple. So, but what can we learn from this? It wasn't that this is the first time after a big acharya left, what happened to the Gaudiya Math? The instructions of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur within months was completely ignored, and just chaos took place. And the Gaudiya Math basically collapsed from what it was like when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was present. It was a real preaching, movement, but not that way so much now. There's some going on, but not that much, not compared with what it was. So the point is, that one of the points is that we just have to really go deep in instructions that Srila Prabhupada left for us. He's the founder Acharya. He's a mantra upashaka. Now some of you have heard this before because I spoke about it after class one or two times. And that's that in the Brahma Vaivarta Purana, there's a very interesting and very powerful pastime that took place between Ganga Mata and Krishna. And Krishna was about to leave his earthly pastimes. And Ganga Mataji came to Lord Krishna and said, "Oh Krishna, I'm in so much anxiety. You're about to leave. Kali Yuga is about to fully manifest. Already people are becoming sinful. They're becoming more and more sinful. After you leave and Kali Yuga is fully manifest, so many sinful people will be bathed in my waters. What will I do with all those sinful reactions?" And then Krishna says, "Ganga Mataji, do not fear. Don't be in anxiety. In 5,000 years, my mantra upashaka, worshipper of the holy name, will manifest. He will spread Krishna consciousness all over the world, make many pure devotees, and everybody wake up." And guess who that mantra upashaka is? Srila Prabhupada. And that's not all of the quote. There's also, Krishna says there will be a 10,000-year golden age of Krishna consciousness. And this mantra upashaka will launch that golden age. So Prabhupada has done amazing miracles. 12 times around a year, in 12 years, 14 times he went around the world, established 108 temples as predicted by the astrologer at his birth. Bhaktivinoda Thakur also predicted in his Sajjanatoshini, I think it was just a year before Prabhupada appeared, that there'll be a great personality that will spread Krishna consciousness worldwide, about to appear. So he knew. Bhaktivinoda Thakur also knew about the temple of Vedic planetarium. In the Abut Mandir, he had a vision out of the veranda of his house. He saw this amazing temple. And then he knew that devotees from all over the world, this is also part of the vision, that devotees from Russia, from the Ukraine, from Africa, from South America, from all over, they would come and chant the holy name in Mayapur, dancing in ecstasy, free from the bodily conception of life. The bodily conception is what ties us down, in the material world. The Kanishta platform, all bodily conception. We're just, this guy's my enemy, that's my friend, all these rude dealings, impersonal dealings. Devotees are, the Madhyama platform is all kinds of loving exchanges. This is the key. Tadati patigrinati guyamakyati prichati bhunkte bhujayate chaiva sadvidhim padilakshanam. Okay, it's that time. Bhunkte bhujayate chaiva. Any questions, comments? Any rotten tomatoes you'd like to throw at me? No? Questions, comments? Microphones available for those questions and comments? If Mataji? Nice and loud. Hold the mic right next to your mouth, okay? But don't kiss it, okay?
No? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I just want to make sure I understand properly.
Nice and keep it up there, though.
Okay. Thank you so much for a most wonderful class. I had a lot of those questions and you answered them today, so it was very...
You have a question?
I do. My question is, you said that Krishna, when he comes to like the fallen gurus, he's actually helping them as go through the process. Yeah? But then so would the devotees...
Okay, I want to make sure I got that straight. When we have difficulties, when we go through distress, it's actually Krishna? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Is that a clear understanding that he's helping even the gurus in our line that fell?
Well, there's one guru, I won't mention names, but he comes to Mayapur every year. He gives really dynamic classes. Maybe I should mention his name. Yeah, he's spot on. He took Bhakti Shastri this year for the 3rd time. He really focused, really trying hard. Rameshwar, he was the biggest initiating guru in North America. He was in charge of the BBT. He did the Chaitanya Charitamrita marathon for Prabhupada. First he said to Prabhupada, when Prabhupada wanted everything completed in 1 month, they'd already done some of the books, and Rameshwar said, Prabhupada, that's impossible. And then what was Prabhupada's response?
Nothing is impossible.
What?
Nothing is impossible.
No, he said, impossible is a word in the Fool's Dictionary. Yeah. So that's, there's recovery. That's really possible. Another one is doing service for the TOVP, did a lot of the design work. And, it goes on. But of any of them that fell, Prabhu Vishnu Swami, he wasn't one of the Zonacharyas, but he had problems, and he's active. He's preaching and came to Mayapur and this last time. So, yeah, there's recovery. I mean, it's multiple lifetime for most of us. But we can finish off all of this in this lifetime. And here's a description of how that can take place. I've mentioned this after class at least once. This is a discussion that took place between Srila Prabhupada and Tamal Krishna Maharaj in the early days of the Juhu temple project, which was just filled with all kinds of challenges. So Srila Prabhupada brought Tamal Krishna Maharaj because he was such an expert manager in dealing with difficult problems. He's the one that actually acquired the land, the first land in Mayapur. It was even the Gaudiya Math was trying to block us from doing that. It was crazy what was going on. But, okay, Juhu, early days. One day, Tamal Krishna Maharaj exclaimed to Srila Prabhupada, how can I think of Krishna? My mind is simply filled with temple finances. And Prabhupada said, yes, many lifetimes we have wasted on ourselves. If just in this one lifetime we can dedicate heart and soul to pushing on Lord Chaitanya's movement, then at the end, even if we're not completely perfect, Lord Chaitanya will personally come and take us back to Godhead. And It's a promise fulfilled. Harisari, who was in the last years, heard Prabhupada say this on numerous occasions. And this, my Sankirtan partner for 18 years, left his body, and the promise was fulfilled. There was no question in anybody's mind that he went back to the spiritual world. It was just filled with miracles. And the atmosphere at the time of his departure was just filled with complete ecstasy. And he was in bliss at the end. So, and then I gave, at the opening of the hospice in Vrindavan, I told, just after he left, the Chopadi Yatra came in with 5,000 devotees. Giriraj Swami gave the first class. And my friend had left 2 days before his class. And at the end of the class, I went up and told Giriraj Swami the amazing miracles that took place that enabled my friend Nirguna to go back to the spiritual world. And we went on for about 45 minutes talking about it. And then about 6 months later, he sent me a transcript and wanted to include what I had, that transcript in a book that he was writing, Life's Final Exam, Death and Dying from a Vedic Perspective. But it was just amazing what took place with him. It's filled with miracles. It's the same thing can take place for us. We can have the fulfillment of that promise. We just have to dedicate heart and soul to pushing on Lord Chaitanya's movement through ISKCON, through Srila Prabhupada's ISKCON, and understand that this is what Prabhupada wanted out of all of us. Don't be lazy. Give everything you got. Give everything you got to your sadhana practices. That's the key. Okay, so we got to call it quits here. Oh, boy. But I have distributed, this is what I found to be a very, very effective tool, and other devotees here have also found this to be the case. I distributed over 5,000 of these in English, Russian, Bengali, and Hindi in Mayapur in the last 3 years. And boy, it's amazing the feedback I've gotten from so many devotees. Devotees come up to me and say, Jamnastami Prabhu, this book has changed my life. It's incredible, right? Here's some of the testimonies right here of devotees that have been helped significantly by it. Now, we didn't have a big turnout today, probably because this old guy was scheduled to give the class. But if you haven't got one, get it today. And every day before you start your japa, read one affirmation. And you'll be amazed at the transformation your japa will undergo. Yeah. Tikache?
I did. You see, I just came from the Holy Name Retreat.
Say again?
I just came from the Holy Name Retreat with Sachinanda Swami. Oh, and he had said that he always reads a verse before he starts japa. And I was thinking, what shall I read? So I just found it. This is the one. Yes.
Yeah, this is the cream of 18 years of japa retreats with devotees like Sachinanda Swami, Giriraj Swami, Indradumna Swami, Burijan Prabhu. It's incredible. Really, it's just loaded with Bhakti Shakti. It's got incredible quotes from Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And, it only takes 2 or 3 minutes to read one, but then your mind, if you got that Shakti behind you, then your mind doesn't bounce all over the universe. You get a really clear understanding of what the acharyas recommend is the best way to chant your japa, which is your most important service. Okay? And you don't have one, and you don't have one. Anybody else don't have one yet? Okay. Come and get it. Sometimes devotees give me 2,000 rupee donations for it in Mayapur. I'm not taking donations here. I'm in the mood of the Dati Pratigrinati. But if you want to give like a few $1 million, it's worth about 108 million, I think, probably would be a good estimate. You want one for your god sister? You want 3 more? Okay. Are you from Russia? You're from where?
ISKCON in Silicon Valley.
Oh. Oh, good. Yeah, we used to distribute books together way back in 70, 78. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Are you his disciple? Oh, right. You know, Krishna house. Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, Kalakanta and I go way back too. He was my temple president, let's see, I was with the Vancouver temple at one point, and that was 86, 87, yeah. Okay, thank you kindly. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the ecstasy of the holy name. Did we finally get your question answered? I don't know. We got distracted a little bit. Where'd the mic go? Here's the mic. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, Maharaj, you did. I came from New Vrindavan, where I saw this magnificent Krishna conscious community, Prabhupada's palace. Then I read some history of a very senior devotee who did all this good work. And then what happened? So I had always the same questions you were describing, you know, falling down once you've gone such a far long at the path for so long. And then there's this kind of very disastrous fall down. And so you were answering my questions. That was kind of what was bothering me in my heart. You know, like, how can this happen?
Yeah, right. So did I answer it or no?
Yes.
Okay. But that's the key. You know, usually it comes about through nam aparad, you know, that we fall down. You know, and most of the nam aparads take place outside of japa. The root cause of nam aparads is pramada, inattention. Okay, so then, you know, and the hatimata offense, the mad elephant offense, is offending devotees. So that's what I understood was the cause of many of the fall downs of the original Zonacharyas. And there was a pridefulness that also, you know, because pride precedeth the fall. That's another point. If you're puffed up, you think you're the center of the universe, the supreme controller, then naturally you're going to slap people in the face because you're the boss. You know, you're not the servant. So there's a concept called servant leadership, where, you know, this is the way a genuine guru sees his disciples as sent by his spiritual master, and his responsibility is to be their servant, to accelerate their spiritual advancement. Tigache, as we say in Bengal. Do you know what tigache means? No? None of you? Okay. That means, is that all right? Okay. Tigache? That's one of the few words I know in Bangla. So if there's any other questions, we can speak privately. Okay, one more question. Get that mic quick. Run it to him.
Where can we get your self-assessment
Okay, that's a good question. Yeah, I've got a digital copy, and if there's an interest, you know, maybe the IYF could take it up, print them out, and you know, then it's a self-assessment. In other words, you have to be really honest with yourself, and you assess it on the basis of your answers to multiple questions that deal with the symptoms, you know, of the Kanishta up through the Madhyama. And I think probably Arjunananda should be the supreme controller of the devotional development self-assessment and orchestrate it all. And it can go out to the Gita Life, you know, maybe that's relevant. Maybe those are more new devotees. But you know, the brahmacharis can take it, maybe the whole temple can get involved with it, because it's important. We have to have the intelligence to know our own position and the position of others. And we shouldn't be satisfied to stay on the Kanishta platform. This is also a point that's made, you know, by Prabhupada in that purport. I'm pretty sure, text 5 NOI. We should come to the Madhyama Vaishnava platform ASAP, as soon as possible. Because that's actually, then we get facility to actually practice pure devotional service. And this is what also, 1120.27-28 is all about. How to get there. A lot of it has to do with kind of the internal consciousness, the emotions that tie us into the material world, particularly sex attraction. That's the binding force. Pumpsa striya mituni bhava mitam tayor mito hridaya grantam mahu. Atogriha shetra sutapta vitar janasha moho yamahama meti. The basic, attraction. Oops, time to go. Okay, we're coming. That's the binding force. Now, Krishna Kripa's got it written. He's got a tattoo on his chest with that, I'm sorry, in his heart. That Pumsa Striya Mituni Bhava. Okay, I got to stop. Losing the capacity to speak anymore. Okay? Thank you for tolerating me. We got through it. Jai. Shri Radha Govinda ki jai. Shri Krishna, Shri Gaurnitai ki jai. Shri Jagannath, Shri Baladev and Subhadra ki jai. Shri Giriraj Maharaja ki jai. Vaishnava Sangha ki jai. Boom.